welcome back. Well, we're here. A little bit warmer weather. We thought we got rid of all this really warm weather. Thought we were just starting to get a little colder, but I guess summer is not going to let us go away that soon on that. Thanks for tuning in. My name is Zane. This is Madman with the Show on CutaCast TV. And we're going to delve into, oh man, let me tell you. Are you guys a little upset about all these reboots and sequels and stuff like that? So a lot of old stuff. You know, I keep asking this. Has Hollywood completely just run out of ideas? I mean, this is impossible. I mean, there's so many novels. There's so many ideas out there. I know there's so many people that have written scripts to a lot of these companies. There are people who do like little mini things on YouTube and online. They've created their own type little shows, movies and stuff like that, you know, Hollywood could take advantage of, and they don't. They really, truly don't. And here, we're going to go further into this as this announcement has come across my desk. Back years ago, there used to be one of the greatest soap operas of all time. You know, this one, people used to run home for this one. No, this is not All My Children or One Life to Live. This was not the conventional soap opera that, you know, most people saw. This was really out of the box. You didn't expect something of this nature here in the U.S. You would think that this would be something that would be seen like in England or something like that. And what I'm talking about, and if you read the title, I'm talking about the Dark Shadows series. And, you know, Jonathan Frith, and, you know, wonderful, you know, soap. You know, you have so much to it. I mean, how can you say you put yourself with ghosts, werewolves, vampires, witches, and even time travel? You know, how can you put yourself to a point where you even have time travel in a series? It's supposed to be like a bit of a horror series, and you know, and it didn't start as a horror series. The first, you know, for example, Jonathan Frith, who plays Barnabas Collins, if you don't know the series, he is a vampire, and basically he was released by someone by accident in his burial tomb, which was on the Collins estate. And basically, he doesn't show up until at least, I think it's episode 216, if I might say, or 230, somewhere around there. And you may ask yourself, well, what was happening in the first season? There was a lot of other stories that were going on there. And the first episode was about a guy who came back to town that was wronged by someone in the Collins family. And basically, it went back and forth a bit on that. And it was very good as well. As soon as they start getting into the ghosts and then the coming of Barnabas Collins, the show just ramped up itself. And it was excellent. The original series was in black and white till color came to television, and basically everything switched over into a color format, which it had a unusual rich format for color for television, because this was done live in a studio. And you know, the cast was fantastic, the storylines were very well done, and you know, it held very well. In fact, if you have Amazon Prime right now, you can watch pretty much the entire series. You just got to figure out. It's a little confusing between which is actually the first reel to last reel on there. But if you pay attention pretty carefully, you should be able to figure it out. If not, use Wikipedia on there, and it'll explain which is the first and last episodes on there. And you know, if you want to jump to Barnabas, go right ahead, jump right into the 200s. But I would say start slow and start at the beginning on this series. Now, the reason I bring this up and talk about this, there's been talk from the CW that they want to bring this series back and continue it as a sequel series. That means, in other words, where they left off is basically where they'll continue on. I don't know what part would they, you know, because there's so many parts where they could start from there at the end of the original series. But, this is not the first time that this is, and it's been done twice. Oh, you thought Johnny Depp was the only one that they redid this? No, they did this in 2004. NBC got the rights to this, and basically they did a version with Ben Cross. They did like a mini movie, sort of like a mini series, and it did okay, and it kind of left off, and they didn't go beyond, but they put too much into the series itself because they took a lot out, and they put the time traveling in very early, and because the time travel doesn't come in until in the original series very later. I think in the 300s or 400s, somewhere around there, those episodes on there. And it's a crucial part of the series when it comes to Barnabas Collins. But now, and of course, like I said, Johnny Depp on there, which that was just, even though it was a little funny, they just really wrecked that as well. But also there was two movies that were made from the original company, House of Long Shadows, and I forgot what the other one was called. But those were two very good movies that was done. And this was done like after the series ended. But now CW wants to take its touch and throw it in. How do I feel about that? It could go either way. Now, one thing, and my wife always hates it, on some of the series on there, with the exception of the Sabrina series. She says, like when you look at the CW, it's like the CW people. It's that same look, which is like the 90210, OC. It's you look at Riverdale and stuff like that. It's even the horror ones that they did with the vampire ones and stuff like that. They all have that same look, same music and stuff like that. And I think CW wants to do this with Dark Shadows, and that I don't know if that's going to be good or bad. I mean, I guess they want to introduce it to a new line of, fans and all that. But the thing about it is, what made the original good was the way it was made then, in early television, the early television days. And I mean, if you really want to give it a new look, I would keep the darkness in it. I mean, I wouldn't use black and white for it, but I would give it sort of like Mindhunters has that little gray tone in the the way the color tones are put out on there, the shading. I would give it that more of a tone for this series, because basically it is a dark series. It's a mysterious, on there. See, and that was the problem with the movie with Johnny Depp. You rushed everything so fast in there, but you needed to tell the story. And what was great about the series is when Barnabas Collins comes in, is that basically he shows up at the house, even though he's been trapped underneath in the graveyard. He shows up as saying, I'm a kissing cousin, basically from England. I've just come back to see the homestead because I've never seen it before. He tries to trick his way into the family as being, a distant relative that basically, he's a descendant of the original Collins family. And he's able to gain the trust of his current descendants, the Collins family, and able to move into the old house, and able to do what he does as a vampire on there, even basically, giving a mystery to what is going on. The animals being sucked dry, and then one particular girl in the series that she's ill, and they're trying to figure out what is going on. And that's kind of the mystery behind it, everything. When you see something like this, as a viewer, you say, hey, listen, he's, as you're getting along, you're saying like, hey, he's a vampire. But the character, when you see the characters are just not reacting in that way, it does a very good job of describing the show itself around to everything that's going on. And there's so much going on, and they're able to maintain it because there's so many characters in this series. Not everybody carries their own. And that's what, that's what made this series. And, my wife said, hey, Barnabas Collins was sexy back years ago. He was considered a very, very, a very sexy man to a lot of women who love this soap opera. And you what say you may, you look at the pictures now, and he is gone from this world. People wanted that vampire. It's the same type as if you ever watched the Hammer vampire movies with Christopher Lee. People loved it because of the way it was written, the way that Christopher Lee carried himself as Dracula. And that's the same way Barnabas Collins, Jonathan Frakes, carries himself in this series. It's the same way. And it's done very well. I hope that CW does a job of it, works with it very well. But, like I said, there are too many reboots, too many sequel series. They're putting too much into this, especially, going into the streaming series. You're hearing so much that they want to do. I mean, you're hearing a Home Alone, a Die Hard. It's like there's so much, so much. What did I hear the other day? They wanted to reboot. There was one that I just couldn't believe they wanted to reboot again, and it just keeps coming and coming and coming, and they think they're going to make a buck out of it. I mean, they may get maybe 3 seasons out of some of these stuff. So, comment below. Tell me what you think. Tell me, did you used to watch the series? Did you love the series? Did you hate the series? I can see anybody hating this series because I tell you, I loved it. Every once in a while, I'll sit there. They are. I'll give you a warning for those who are just going to probably just go over to Amazon starting this. These are in half-hour episodes because this was back in the soap opera TV days, which basically, now these days you get a full hour, but some of the soap operas, depending on the production, a lot of them got half-hour shots. So basically, you might get a half-hour slot, and you wait the other way, and it'll leave you as a cliffhanger, as most soap operas do. And the music is fantastic as well. So, until the next video, thank you for tuning in. Be sure to subscribe. Very important. Hit that subscribe if you haven't done it yet, and hit that like. Thank you for tuning in to Men with the Show on CUNYcast TV.